Hi, class. Throughout this course and many others that you will take, you may see a template provided for the work that you're going to submit. A template is basically a shell into which you put your text. And it's very helpful because it already has the font type that you need. You know, they say Times New Roman. It's already here and will stay that way as long as you type into the paper. It also has some basic information at the start, which says that you're going to replace bracketed text with your own content. Brackets are these things that look sort of like parentheses that have been straightened out. In this case, you're being told that the paper is to be written in your own words. Don't copy and paste information from the internet. And only one resource is required for each section of this assignment, but you may use additional resources for full credit in the final project, and that's because you're going to be writing other papers. The Module 2 assignment gives you a chance to do research on your Module 1, or your Milestone 1 paper. So what you're going to do is get rid of this note once you've read it. So you can just copy it and delete it. And then you're going to go down. You can keep HCM 340 Annotated Bibliography because that is not in brackets. You're going to type in your name. And I am not the world's greatest typist, as you can see. You're going to put in your course number and name. HCM 340, Healthcare Delivery Systems. Then you will put in my name, and the date the assignment is due. And this week, this particular assignment is due on March 17th, which I've managed to mistype. This is all for comic relief. Once you've done that, you can go down a little further, and you want to actually start this on another page, because one of the things that's very sad in writing is having a big header at the bottom of a page and nothing underneath it. Okay, this is preparing for Milestone 1. And Milestone 1 asks you to comment on 5 specific things. So you're going to do some research right here to help you when you comment on those things in your paper. Now, this first set of bracketed material is interesting because it gives you some help as far as APA reference formatting goes. So when you're doing a book reference, you're going to have the author of the book and initials, date in parentheses, and you will put the title of the book in parentheses. A source might be what city or what publisher. If you're doing a web page, you're going to do the same thing with a title and a date. You'll put the name of the web page or the document in italics. And if you're doing a journal article, which happens pretty often, you will have author, maybe more than one, a date, title of the article in lowercase and not italicized. And the title of the journal and the volume will be in italics. And then you may have page numbers or a DOI, which you'll see when you look up a reference in your Shapiro library. Here, you're going to give a website, which is usually https://, and you're eventually going to stick that back up here and it's already here in this case, but you'll put it up here with your journal articles if you don't have a DOI. And once you've done that, you've got your reference that you can just copy from yourself and put into your milestone 1 paper. And I will be looking at these and telling you how you can correct them if you've done them wrong. And once you correct them, then they're ready to go into your milestone 1 paper reference list. This is very important. You want to talk about why the resource is relevant to your chosen topic. And here you are describing a specific gap in the delivery of healthcare. And you may want to include the specific population affected by the gap. So what you want this resource to talk about is, if, for instance, you're working with veterans, why is there a mental health problem with care for veterans? What is the issue? Is it that there aren't enough physicians to go around? Is it a problem with geography? Care coordination. Why don't more people with chronic illnesses have the kind of care coordination that is needed to keep them well or to keep them as stable as possible? Or why is the cost of medication so high that it's causing a problem for older adults to take their medication? When you move down here, you're going to be looking at the history of the gap in access. So that means you're looking at how was the gap first developed? How was it first noticed? Has it been an issue for a long time, or has it been pretty recent? So when you're talking about this, when you're getting a resource, you don't just want the history of veterans with mental health issues. You also want the history of when it was first noticed that they weren't getting the care they need. With chronic illnesses, you may want to talk about what they are, but you also want to talk about when it was really first noticed that care coordination was needed and was deficient. And with pharmaceutical costs, when did we first notice that drug costs were getting more and more expensive and beyond the reach of older adults? Down here, you're going to look for a resource that talks about the impact of the socioeconomic background of the population. What is happening with this population socioeconomically that is getting in the way of their access to health care? Do veterans not have the income that's needed to get services if they can't get them through the VA? Do older adults have fixed incomes that make it impossible for them to afford really high drug costs? Do people with chronic illnesses not have the transportation or enough money or the education to see that they get more and more care, that they see specialists and they get the tests that are recommended? And once again, in each of these, you're going to put in the title of the resource, the APA formatted reference, the website, and you're going to talk about why the resource is relevant. Why do you think you'll be using this? How does it apply to what we're talking about? And then in the next section, describe how healthcare delivered to the population is affected by the gap in access. In addition to picking up a reference that talks about this, what the reference should be talking about is, what is life like for your population on a daily basis if they're not getting health care, if they can't afford medications, if they don't have a means to get to the specialist, or if nobody has arranged for them to have any kind of care coordination. And then finally, under here, you're going to look for a resource that talks about the potential implications if the gap is not addressed. And what that means is, what's going to happen down the line if people can't afford their medications? Will there be more emergency room hospitalizations? Will there be earlier deaths? What's going to happen if vets don't get the mental health care they need? Will there be more suicides? Will there be drug abuse? Will there be homicide? What happens to their families? And with chronic care and with pharmaceutical use, what is going to happen if people don't get the care they need or the resources they need? So that's basically what your templates are all about. You're going to put in the resources that you have found. Use the Shapiro library. It's very, very helpful. And if you have any questions, make sure to let me know. Thanks.